Hello, everyone. Buenas tardes. Thank you for waiting for us. We are excited to have y'all for this event tonight. Welcome to the Latinx, Latina, Latino Professionals Presente Career Panel. This panel is in partnership with the SJSU Career Center as part of Diversity Career Week. At the end of the presentation, we will be sharing information on how to access the additional events happening the rest of this week. Our panel today is sponsored by the SJSU Chicanx Latinx Student Success Center, also known as Centro, the SJSU Latino Alumni Network, and the SJSU Latino Student Business Association. Before we begin our panel, we ask that you officially check into the event by clicking on the link in the chat that Lily is about to add. Collecting this information is important to us, so please take just a couple of seconds to complete this form at this time. Thank you so much, everyone. Now, we will be introducing our agenda for this evening. So, we'll begin with a welcome and introduction, followed by a moderated question and answer. Next, we will welcome students to drop in your questions in the chat box below for panelists to answer. And we will close off with more information about the Latino Alumni Network as well as LBSA. So again, welcome everyone. My name is Yesenia Guzman. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am one of the student moderators for this evening. I am a fourth-year business marketing major at San Jose State with a minor in Chicanic Studies. I grew up in San Francisco, California, and a fun fact is that this semester I am the media marketing director for the Latino Business Student Association. I'll pass it on to my colega Jennifer.
Hi everyone, my name is Jennifer Terrazas and my pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm currently majoring in finance and my hometown is Fremont, California. That is where I grew up in. I am also a third year and I am the VP of Finance for LBSA. And I am super excited today to hear from our panelists. I will pass it back to you, Yesenia.
Thank you, Jennifer. Now we would like to briefly introduce our panelists for this evening. Our Latinx, Latina, Latino panelists come from various backgrounds and industries. They are working professionals who are here to share their story, background, career trajectory, and advice with us SGSU students. So as you hear them speak, I encourage you all to take some notes. Feel free to ask questions in the chat box below. At the end of the panel, there will be time to address your questions. So I have the honor of introducing our first three panelists. They are Mauricio Perez, he, him, his. He is the Vice President Streaming and Emerging Business at Pluto TV Viacom International. Next, we have Isa Hernandez, she, her. She is the Manager of Talent Operations at Adobe. Finally, we also have Lucia Mendoza, she, her, ella. She is a social worker training specialist at Santa Clara County and Social Services Agency.
And it is my pleasure to introduce our additional panelists, Joaquin Portugal, he, him. He is a Senior Director of Corporate FP&A at Sumo Logic. We also have Elisa Gallegos, and she is the Public Health Nurse at City of Berkeley Public Health. And Maria Trejo, she, her, and she is the Dean of Students at Homestead High School.
Great. Thank you so much for being in community with us tonight. Now we will begin with our moderated Q&A. So I have the prompt that will be answered by all of our all of our 6 panelists. Each panelist will have 3 minutes to respond. So now that we got to share a little bit about us, we'd love to learn a little bit about you all. You may want to start with sharing your hometown, your major while at SJSU or at your other college, information about your family, family heritage and traditions, social identities, what social identities are most salient to you. If you identify as a first-generation college student, who or what played a major influence in your career goals, dreams growing up, as well as what are your interests outside of current jobs. So I would like to invite Isa to begin.
Sure. Love to share. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Awesome. So glad to be here. I was born and raised here in San Jose, specifically East San Jose. Went to Mount Pleasant High School in San Jose State. I was a major of social science. I wanted to be a teacher. That was my ultimate goal. When I graduated, the teachers were on strike. So unfortunately, I had to find a new direction with my degree, which I found myself in HR, so in recruiting. My family, so my mom and dad both grew up here in the Valley. My dad's family's from Guanajuato, Mexico, and my mom's family's from Texas. My husband is also from Tejas as well, and I have 2 boys. I have a 12-year-old and a 20-year-old who's attending CSU Monterey Bay as well. I am Mexican American. I'm a mom and I'm a professional. I'm trying to pay it forward. So I was in the same spot graduating, didn't know what I was going to do. And I love the fact that I get to speak here today and help in terms of opportunities as well and mentoring, which I love. So my sister, one of my younger sisters, I'm the oldest of 5. So one of my younger sisters is also alumni. And interesting enough, I have an uncle, my uncle Joe Hernandez, who is no longer with us. He was a professor at San Jose State back in the 80s. He taught Spanish as well. So a favorite tradition is tamale making. So really look forward to the holidays, which my husband actually is teaching my sons how to make tamales. So that's a favorite of ours. So glad to be here.
Thank you, Isa. Paying it forward, that's definitely an inspiring mission. I would like to invite Mauricio to tell us a little bit about himself next.
Yeah, hi. Well, thank you. It's a pleasure being here. I'm connecting with San Jose State. It's been a while. Thanks for inviting me. A little bit about myself. I'm a first-generation college graduate. My background is Nicaragua. I'm born and raised in Nicaragua. I migrated to the United States when I was about 15, back in the 80s, late 80s. So I'm dating myself a bit here. But after graduating from Silver Creek High School, had a passion for working in vehicles and working on cars. So the most, relevant career there was like mechanical engineering. Why not? Sounds mechanical, it's engineering, I can go into that. So I graduated in 95 with a degree in mechanical engineering, concentration in robotics. And after some time working in GE, I decided to do a career change. I figured that, nuclear technology wasn't something I wanted to do, and I went into telecommunications. And interesting enough, my background in Spanish was really what led me to the job, because the company that was hiring me was looking for someone bilingual to help with customers across international markets. So from that point, I kind of evolved my career. Personally, I enjoy, all the traditions that go with the Latin culture. I've grown here my whole life. I consider myself Native American, more American than anything else. So I have a lot of friends. I affiliate and associate with a lot of Hispanic cultures around, the Bay Area. I love this area because it's so diverse into all the different areas that you can associate with. So I live here in San Jose, wife and 2 kids. One of them is going to college. The other one is in high school. And yeah, it's a real honor to be here with you. I'll probably be talking a little bit more about career futures and things that we can do. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mauricio, for sharing. I also identify as a first-generation college student, and I'm interested in learning more about that career shift that you made during college. I would like to invite Lucia to introduce herself next.
Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be with you all today. It's so exciting. I love school, love college. How many of you? I know a bunch of you do, and maybe some of you don't, but I think a bunch of you do. I think we're in probably a room full of like book nerds and like, you know, stuff like that. So I love doing, and even though I can't see you, I just know you're out there. Yeah, me, right? Okay. So Lucia Mendoza, my hometown is San Jose, born and raised, East Side and Evergreen, and kind of just all about, those are the main areas. I studied social work at San Jose State. I have an MSW, so it was my master's degree. I got my undergraduate degree in sociology in Northern Ireland. And I thought I was going to be a researcher. So I thought sociology, I'm going to do research. It sounds, because it's really interesting. So when I came back to live in the States, I got a job temporarily I thought it was temporarily as a social worker with the County of Santa Clara, and they had a work-study program there. And that's how I found I loved working with families. I loved connecting with youth. And it just was so fulfilling that I decided to take advantage of their work-study program and do my MSW at San Jose State. So that was really cool. So my family-wise, my parents both immigrated here. So they've been here since the 60s. University was super important to them because neither of them finished their degree. My dad came here. He worked a lot. He opened a business. And if you all have been around, if you don't know, maybe your parents know, it's actually been around for a long time. It's in East San Jose at the Tropicana. It's called San Jose Menswear. He retired, so it's no longer there. But if you ask your parents, and if they've been here for a while, they might know. Let's see, the identities, Mexicana. I also am a very spiritual person. I think that's the thing that's the most close to me. I think the Latinx is encompassed in that, but I don't eat animals. I'm vegan, so but that's part of my spirituality. That I just want to live the most compassionate life that I can, and so that's part of it for me. Like I said, my parents didn't go to college, so it was really important for me to go to college. But I kind of don't consider myself first generation because I have a lot of cousins and uncles who have higher education. Some of them have doctorates, so it's around. As far as the dreams are, thought I wanted to be an actress when I was little. And actually, that's still an interest of mine outside the acting and the arts and all of that. It's just, I love that. And I think it enriches our lives. But I also loved helping people. And I think my parents, as I mentioned, my dad has a store, but it was very community oriented. And I think just their approach to providing even that kind of service, which I might tell you later, because we have to stop talking. But I think just their approach to giving a service to the community, even though it was a business, and them always wanting to help the immigrant community back in the 70s, that's just really influenced me in really wanting to do something to help my community, and especially having the language. So that's me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lucia. We're excited to learn more about how your family, your upbringing has influenced your career choices, your college journey. So thank you so much. I would like to invite Joaquin Portugal to introduce himself next.
Yes, hi, definitely. Good evening, everyone. It's glad to be here with you as a fellow SJSU alumni. So as mentioned, my name is Joaquin Portugal. And, you know, I grew up in San Marcos. And if anyone knows California, it's a small city near San Diego. I spent a lot of time at the beach there and, you know, really enjoyed my youth there. Over time, I slowly moved up California until I ended up moving to the Bay Area. And I moved to the Bay Area shortly or right after the 1994 Northridge earthquake. So I had just completed my first semester at Cal State Northridge, and the earthquake struck in January. So I was actually on break and getting ready to start my new semester. My family had moved up to the Bay Area about a year and a half before I had started school in Southern California. And I took that as a sign that maybe I needed to be closer to family. So I made the transfer to San Jose State, which turned out to be the best decision of my life for a number of different reasons. You know, one of the reasons, so one of those reasons is that's where I actually met my wife, Patricia, who's actually on the call as well. So we, you know, we met at San Jose State. We got to know each other a little bit there. Know a couple of people on this call as well as from my days there. But, you know, for me, I always had a passion for business, right? And, you know, to the point where I actually took some business classes when I was in high school. And I took a business law class at the local community college. And I did also a couple other things to learn about business in hospitals. I actually thought I wanted to be a doctor at one point in my high school career or high school life, but quickly decided I did not want to be a doctor. But so I ended up graduated from San Jose State with a double major in accounting and information systems. And this is before they had a combined major. I think you guys have a combined major now. But I always wanted to kind of pair business with technology, and which really served me well in my career, and you know, especially being in tech in the Bay Area. As I mentioned, the best decision was to move to the Bay Area and start a family, get to know my wife. We've been married for 26 years. We have 3 wonderful children who all, by the way, are over 18. And although we're not officially empty nesters, we have, you know, very little responsibilities left in that context. You know, one of the things that I think about what grounds us as a family and grounds me as a person is really the deep connection that we have in our Catholic faith and our Latin culture. Growing up as a kid, I don't know what it was, but I always felt my parents kind of made the choice or felt like they had to pick one over the other. So being of Mexican descent, we grew up in an area that was predominantly Caucasian. And I always felt like they made the decision to kind of choose being American or kind of trying to assimilate into the US culture. And for me, what that meant was I didn't learn Spanish until later in life. We didn't celebrate some of the cultural, some of the really great cultural things that we have. We just recently celebrated Noche Mexicana here at the family. But you know, what I realize is, and you know, I'm blessed with a really large extended family from my wife's side, which really embraces the culture, really embraces family, and really brings us together to kind of foster those cultural connections, as well as the importance of education and giving back. When I think about, you know, growing up, my parents didn't complete college. My mom, you know, started high school but didn't finish. My dad actually started college but wasn't able to finish due to financial hardships. So although I don't consider myself first generation college student, I do see the differences in the contrast between children or kids that are first generation and may not have that background or their encouragement from the families, or even the knowledge. When I've gone through a contrast like what my kids went through and how I perceive is very easy, right? Both my wife and I went and got our undergrads and have our masters. And I just see the differences in terms of the ability and easiness to understand and maneuver the application process, the financial processes, everything from the fact of studying for SATs. And I think back to the time when I was going to college. Thankfully, my parents didn't discourage it, but they didn't really encourage it. I kind of had to navigate all of that on my own. So I do realize that, there's a lot of first generation students here with us today and still in school. But I do kind of value and recognize the desire and how hard it may be for a lot of you. But I do recognize the importance of an education and applaud everyone here for figuring it out.
Thank you, Joaquin.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing about your story. It's so interesting to hear about your connection at San Jose State and how it was one of the best decisions you made. We're excited to learn more about your career journey, your academic journey at San Jose State. I would like to now invite Elisa Gallegos to introduce herself next.
Muy buenas noches. Mucho gusto a todos. It's an honor and a privilege to be, I think, I am connected to San Jose State via a few of you on this call, and I am honored to be asked to come in as the outlier, which is an honor that I hold in many areas. Elisa Gallegos, I have over 30 years experience. I work in the area of public health. I am a registered nurse with a public health certificate and a certified diabetes educator in chronic disease management. I want to acknowledge the land of the Native Americans that stood before us in the Ohlone tribe that is also in San Jose. Specifically, I think it's Temian people, different natives within the Ohlone tribe. So I honor and respect them and stand on the shoulders, because those of us who have had the opportunities of having an education really do it because of those who came before us. I acknowledge my family, who is from Guanajuato, Mexico, from Mexico City, my father, who immigrated here in the early 50s. And we have family that also was part of the Bracero program back way back. I am the youngest of 5, and we are first generation college students, but because I was the last of, my tribe, I felt, like Joaquin said, a different experience because my siblings helped me learn. My oldest sister started it off and I just learned. And I went to the University of San Francisco. I got my nursing degree with my public health certificate, and I did not have the experience of Chicano studies, of learning about those social and political identities until my sisters were doing their PhD at UC Berkeley. So although University of San Francisco was smack in San Francisco, right? You have all this diversity. It was not diverse. At University of San Francisco, the Latinos that were there started the Latino Club then, and now they have a whole center. I connected with the Hawaiian students, I connected with the researchers, and so it was very interesting. But my social and political identity is Chicana, and that is very rooted in Chicano studies that both my sisters have a PhD in, and really working and learning with UC Berkeley students. So I really consider myself, nursing educated at USF, rooted in community. Our family, I have some family members on this panel, is very rooted in our culture, our being Mexicanos, and being proud of where we come from. And I think that established really strong self-esteem and values, which we all hold on to today, that has engaged us in remaining really close-knit family and community advocates, always helping, as many of us can attest to an experience that we helped our papas translate, right? We were interpreters. And for me, it was healthcare. It's all about healthcare. It's still about healthcare. And, you know, during this pandemic, I'll share more a little later about what it is I do. I will task all of you as public health warriors, because we cannot get through this without each other, supporting each other in different ways, even in trying to provide information. I balance the work we do now during this pandemic with the outdoors. I invite all of you to connect with Latino Outdoors on Facebook. There's a really active group down in the South Bay, and really connect, as some of you said on the call, with your spirituality and what brings you and puts you in a state of peace. And I think that's one of the things that is super important that we'll talk about later, that we often get really focused on our career, that we forget our mental, physical, emotional health, which should be primary. And that's what the outdoors and our whole environmental justice that we can bring into that I believe is part of a holistic approach to health. So I am super privileged and honored to be here with you, San Jose State Spartans, yay. Right, you're Spartans. So thank you, mucho gusto.
Thank you so much, Elisa, for that land acknowledgement. Thank you for acknowledging those who came before us and those who we are currently going forward with. I think it's very interesting how you introduced the holistic approach, your holistic approach to public health. Last but not least, I would like to invite Maria Trejo to tell us more about herself.
Woo, a hard group to follow and try to impress our guests listening today. But hola, I'm another Tejana. I'm from Laredo, Texas. I descend from a migrant family of strawberry pickers and orange pickers and traveling throughout the US. So definitely that's where a lot of my motivation comes from, like many of the panelists here, and I'm sure the students that are here with us tonight. Our parents push us, their hard work, their long hours, their callous hands, and so that's what drove me to be able to reach my goals and eventually focus, because I did go astray a little just with the freedoms that come with college. And so I'll talk a little bit more about that later. I'm a first generation college student in the US. So I do have family members or an uncle that was educated in Mexico, but you know that doesn't transfer over. And so education was big in my family. And so for my grandfather, it was very important. I was raised by grandparents. For my grandfather, it was very important to give me opportunities as a female, and also to make sure that I was American, that I was born in the US, to make sure that I had more opportunities than what they had and what my uncle and my mother had. So I started off as a liberal studies major. I had a whole lot of fun and enjoyed college life a little too much. And eventually my saving grace, I believe, was landing a job in a latchkey program that then gave me the experience to be able to apply for a job as a classified staff member at Eastside Union High School District, where I ran into many great mentors that gave me opportunities and also encouraged me to finish school. And I also had a tight group of females that supported me and pushed me along the way as well, and made sure that I kept accountable to my goals and to my dreams. And so I became an educator. The kid that slacked a little bit at college, you know, is now a dean of students. And so at that point, when I was working in Eastside and saying, you need to go to college, you need to go to college. And, you know, here I was not having finished, my students were another source of encouragement and motivation to make sure that I practiced what I preached. And so I went back and finished and earned a master's degree in education, admin credential, teaching credential, too many credentials, but I'm here to be a role model for our students, not just Latino students, but all students. And so I use my background and my experiences to be able to motivate my kids. I call them my kids. And So I identify as a Mexican American, but most recently with the focus in education on anti-racism, I feel that I can now actually honor the title of Chicana, because I wasn't very political. It was, meet the needs of the kids and make sure that they're successful and they graduate and they have opportunities. But now it's really being an advocate for equity and making sure that all of our students feel safe and that they have the same opportunities, regardless of their economic background or the color of their skin. So I proudly have taken on the identity of Chicana. And what do I do to rest when I can? Because education, don't be fooled, education, it's a 24-hour job. Ask my husband, after school, at night, letters of rec, weekends, you have to call that parent, you have to call that kid, you got to check their grades and their attendance. So it's a 24-hour job. So when I can get some sleep. I like to hike in the Alum Rock Hills, and I like to support our SJSU football team. I never went to football games as an undergrad, which is weird to me now, but I'm there every weekend supporting. And so I'm a proud Spartan, my undergrad, my master's, and I'm still connected as an advisor there.
Thank you so much, Maria. Thank you all our panelists for introducing yourselves. We are excited to start our moderated Q&A portion now and go more in depth with what you all shared. Our questions are organized in themes. So we will begin with your SJSU/college experience, followed by your journey post San Jose State, post-college experience. Then we will do a lightning round. So this one will probably go by quicker, but it will consist of your current career experiences as well as advice to current students. So I know we all have so much to share. It's a very diverse panel tonight. So thank you all. And now I'll pass it on to Jennifer.
Thank you, Yesenia. And now I will be asking the following question. And it is more towards what your experience was as an undergraduate while you were in college. And the questions are, did you ever change your major? And if so, what influenced that change, or how did you go about it? Also, what if any student organizations, programs, or support systems that helped you become the professional you are today? What practices, habits did you develop during your time as an undergraduate that have helped you in your personal and professional success? And lastly, did you ever experience any external pressures during college? And if so, what were they and how did you overcome them? And I want to go and invite Maria to answer any of these questions. It is your choice, but I do want to invite Maria to respond to any of these questions.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. So yes, I did change my major. I started as a liberal studies major. The goal was to be an elementary kindergarten teacher. And then through my involvement in my sorority, I was able to volunteer at a local latchkey program and work with little ones. And I quickly realized that little ones don't understand cause and effect and consequences to their choices. And so that was a little frustrating for me, but quickly I knew that I needed to go at a higher level in grade. So changed my major to Spanish and with a minor in literature. And like I mentioned, I had a good old time in college, growing up as the only female in the family with a lot of rules, a lot of restrictions. I don't know if this applies to any other females on the panel, but I needed to be home before the sun went down. And very traditional Mexicano families, boys don't call you, all of that good stuff. You don't even get to watch the shows that you want to watch, right? It's whatever the parents watch. And so it was a very traditional, strict family, loving family that encouraged education. But once I got to the college setting, then that's where I just, you know, wanted to do everything and anything. Obviously, nothing too extreme, but I didn't have that structure of being in class and making sure that I complete my homework and focus and time managed. And everything was already done for me previously. So I had not gained those skills when I got there. So I did struggle. Luckily, I did have good friends and good positive adults that kept me on track. I'm not sure how many of you might know Deanna Gonzalez and at the time Lupe Ontiveros, and they would check in on me and what are you doing? What are you doing, girl? And what's going on with your grades? And then later on, you know, you form these tight-knit groups, and they, you know, it's like one of my closest friends was an engineer, another one was a chemistry major, another one was in business. And so just having those conversations with me, it's like, we're all done. When are you going to be finished? And so, as well as, like I said, my students. And so finally, I think there's a level of maturity that you need to get to and know what your passion is and know what you want to do for the rest of your life. And what I tell my students is, when you're picking what your future career is or what you're going to study, make sure that it's something that even if you didn't get paid, you would still wake up that morning and go out the door and do it, because that's how passionate you are and that's how much you love it. And working with high schoolers is extremely enriching to me, as chaotic as they may be, and it's never the same type of day every day. But I love hearing their stories. I love problem solving with them. I love watching them succeed, and when they don't succeed, to be able to pick them up and show them how to navigate through that so that they're better prepared for the future. So I think finally I was ready and mature and ready to go on with my profession and get it done. And then, you know, it was fast track after that. Like I said, I think that the challenges that I found was me not necessarily having the skills to be independent at the college level. And so that is something that maybe some people today that are listening may be facing, but I think don't get stuck. Make sure that you seek help. Don't be embarrassed. There's always someone there to help you. And all, you know, sometimes they don't know. I think we do a good job at sometimes hiding and pretending things are good and we're doing fine, or even not ready to be held accountable. But I think, you know, find your Deanna, find your Lupe, find whatever community it is on your campus, people that are going to hold you accountable and that are going to love you, whether you succeed or fail, but that are there to pick you up when you need assistance.
Thank you, Maria, for sharing. I can definitely agree that even what Lucia said, those that you surround yourself with are definitely the ones that sometimes are brutally honest, but they're the ones that really do hold you accountable, and they're your support system. So it helps you throughout your journey in life, through college. So thank you for sharing that with us. Now I want to extend the invitation to Isa to also choose any of the questions that I read.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. I can listen to Maria all day, definitely. So I definitely relate. I would say for my experience, I was the first to go to a college from my immediate family, but you know, many of my friends went to a different direction. They didn't go to school. So support was harder. I had to navigate on my own when I went to San Jose State. And it's pretty much was a commuter school. I still lived with my parents, but I think reaching out and getting support, being part of the study groups and finding people to support you on campus as well. At the end, after I found support within study groups and within classes and people that I related to, I was really proud to be part of that Chicano commencement. So that also helped me to continue strong, you know, all the way through, even when there was challenges throughout school as well. But I think also too is the experience that I had during attending school as well. So working for my parents and my family, my dad's family business, having to answer the phone and greet customers and learn about customer experience, all that was something I didn't want to do. I didn't want to be part of that. I just wanted to go to school. So I was forced to. to support the family business. But now I look back and I think that was great in terms of experience. And so whether it's through an internship, whether you get paid or not, I would say do your best to really get that kind of experience, because those soft skills will come into play when you do go into the, the working environment. And customer experience is important for my job now, where it's all about candidate experience and sense of urgency and your brand, building your brand and being reliable, following through and following up is really important. And so I would say, any kind of experience that you can gain at this time is so important to put on your resume, because that's going to market you and build your brand. So any skills, soft skills that you can attain now is really going to benefit you later. And so that's what I found from my school is balancing that work and experience and putting it all together when I did hit the market. Hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you so much, Isa, for sharing. I agree. Just hearing you mention about those soft skills, it is very important, because when you go into your career, you always need to know how to, communicate with others, even work as a team. So those soft skills are very important. So thank you, Isa, for mentioning that. And now I will read on the next question. And the question is directed to Elisa. And it is, did you seek professional mentorship during your college experience at SJSU? And if so, what kinds of mentors did you have, either professors, staff, community members? How did you find them, and how did the relationship evolve over time? And how did these experiences support you in your professional development or your career?
Thank you. So yes, I wanted to do piggyback on two things. One Maria and one Isa said is find your tribe, connect and find your tribe. Your gente, your comadres, your compadres, your homies, whoever they may be, or how many ever they may be, or one or two. I think that was key for me, and still now, as you continue development in your profession, but in life. Just connect with people who will be true to you in terms of, I think Jennifer, you said, who you can count on will tell you, or Yesenia said, will tell you sometimes what we don't like, but it's a true friendship. So those are key. And that connects with, for me in nursing, nobody looked like me. I think there was 2 Latinos in my whole class. I was told by my dean of nursing, I wouldn't make it. So when you have that, that's why your tribe is so important, because we will come across in every step of our lives challenges. And so really it's about, what do you do with that? Do you disconnect, or do you work harder, or connect and reconnect with people? And sometimes those people aren't within your profession. I found my mentors in mujeres that were community advocates. I found my mentors with my sisters. I found my mentors at UC Berkeley, not within the nursing. And you come to understand that sometimes we are creating our own leadership. And this is it. You are all it. I look up to you within your area. So don't close yourself off when you're looking for your network and your mentors. Don't just look for them in the area that you're going into. All my mentors and the people I most admire and have learned from are outside of nursing. And so I think I have become the person I was looking for, but via other people. And I'm recruiting nurses. There's a nursing shortage. And so I think that's how I would answer questions. You look for it in the most rarest places, that may not be connected to your profession. And then the other thing is, I remember in college, you're like, what am I gonna use this for? You're sitting in class, you're like, Andras en otra onda, right? And then just when you're like thinking, what am I gonna use this for? Remember that everything in life is gonna be a tool, and one day it's gonna come back around and you're like, oh yeah, Like I think Isa, you said, it's like those soft skills. But we often, when we're young and when we're in class and don't think anything is connected, remember that it's all connected and it all will serve us. And the people you connected may be inside and outside of whatever profession you're going into. The outdoors has been my biggest network, and it all connects because it's part of that holistic approach to health that we, as we move through our journey, and then for you right now, it's college, don't forget to connect to your spirit, to your peace, to your love, to your self-love. And those sometimes is somebody who you're gonna, that's where you're gonna find your mentorship, in somewhere outside and inside of what you're looking at. So it's community, it's staff, it's organizations. You know, I still connect with the people that I was part of the Hawaiian Club. And those are good networks because in Hawaii, you know, I have a place to stay. So that's who and how my trajectory in terms of support. You find it anywhere. Don't close yourself off.
Yeah, thank you, Elisa, so much for sharing and just emphasizing that your support system doesn't necessarily have to be your family, but it can be anyone. And thank you all for just giving us an insight that, you know, everyone struggles, but everyone also finds their way back. So thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, panelists. I myself was writing down notes. All of your advice or experience and advice was truly empowering. Now that we got to hear about your SJSU/college experience, we'll now move on to our second theme, which is your journey post San Jose State or post college experience. As a reminder, each panelist will have 3 minutes to respond, and I would like to direct this question, which has two parts, to Joaquin, Lucia, and Mauricio. Part A asks, what jobs or experiences did you have that led you to where you are today? Were there any career shifts that surprised you? And part B is, how did your perspective of the world change from that of a college student to now a working professional? So I invite Joaquin to share first.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. So when I think about my career, right, I'll start with the second part first and my perspective on change as a college student. You know, I remember being in college and I was always worried, like, what is my career going to look like? How am I going to, you know, utilize the degree that I'm getting, and how do I think about that for the real world? You know, there was a point in my career where I did actually consider changing my degree, you know, late in my college life. Thankfully, I didn't. But I think the biggest thing for me in my perspective is that things will change, right? What you think you want to do, even at this stage where you're at in your life, things are likely going to change. You may find another career path down the road. You may find something else, you know, as Maria mentioned, like you may find something else that you like in the future, and it's okay. Life is a journey. It's about how do you approach that journey and what do you make the most out of it? So when I think about my career, you know, I think I led a pretty safe career. I've always been a little bit risk adverse. So I actually started working full time for a tech company while I was in college. One of the things I didn't mention in my welcome or a little bit about me is, you know, my wife and I, we had got married in college and actually had our first child in college. So we had a number of difficulties and challenges, you know, just even trying to figure out and navigate, you know, graduating while being parents and newlyweds. But I was working full time, which I'm sure a number of you are actually, you know, working to support yourselves, to put yourself through college. And thankfully for me, I was working for a tech company that gave me that flexibility to work full time, but also to work around my schedule. And, you know, after graduating from San Jose State, I spent a number of years working for tech companies. And I was really fortunate to work for some really large companies, including Microsoft for a number of years. I then decided to go back and get my MBA. So about 6 years after graduating, with encouragement of my family, went back and I wanted to further my education. Knowing for me was, being able to provide for my family and to improve myself and to improve the situation, as we all want, to make ourselves better. And make ourselves better, when I think about it, is to be able to give back in the future. So decided to go back, get my MBA from Santa Clara University. And then I joined a company where I was at for about 14 years. And when I think about today, about why was I at a company for that long? Oftentimes in tech, people don't stick around that long. But for me, it was really about trying to get those experiences that I could have actually gotten in another company, but I was able to get those experiences within the same company. And when I think about career paths, I had considered at certain points, still maybe going back and thinking about engineering, or did I want to do something outside finance? I was actually given those opportunities if I wanted to explore something besides finance at Intuit. And that's the reason I really stuck around this company for so long. Because, when we talked about, Lisa and the rest of the panelists talked about building your, what I call board of directors, building your community, building your people. I think that also extends out to the companies that you work for, right? It's really important to find a company that you fit and match the culture, the visions, the strategies, and kind of how they think about the world, and making sure that fits your passions. And that's what I found, working there for a number of years. At that time, I got the opportunities to help build community outside of Intuit and focusing on the community. We had a really strong partnership. LBSA at the time had a number of students that work on different projects for me. Was leader of the employee resource group Latinos that Connect at Intuit, trying to partner with other organizations like Hispanic Foundation and other tech companies to build the community for employees of similar looking folks, or Latinos or Latinxes. And then sometime after that, about 5 years ago, I decided I wanted to do something more impactful. I didn't want to leave my career, but I wanted to do something more. And what I decided to do is something that was something besides just volunteering, but that could bring my expertise to help the community. At that point, what I did was I joined a Latinos Board Leadership Academy with the Hispanic Foundation, which was an organization to help Latinx professionals to really develop the skills necessary to join nonprofit boards. We have a lot of needs in our community. We have a lot of organizations that serve our community, but what we found was there's not a lot of people on boards for these nonprofits that serve our community. And that was really the purpose of this program led by the Hispanic Foundation. And really what I wanted to get involved with is really help drive and be part of a nonprofit. So I currently sit on the board of Allen Rock Counseling Center. I'm currently their treasurer, and I've been there for about 4 years now. And I think, as leaders of our community, this is one of the ways that we can give back and help others in the community. When I think about my own personal journey, I've always been very risk adverse. I've always tended on the side of being with large companies. About 18 months ago, I decided to join a pre-IPO company, which was probably one of the riskiest feelings of my life, is to join a company that you didn't know what the longevity was going to be. And that's where I'm currently at today and enjoying it. And when I think about my career journey, it's really been about how do you identify those career and those growth opportunities, finding the new opportunities to stretch oneself, and being really proactive about getting there, because oftentimes you don't get tapped on the shoulders to grow your career, right? You have to be hungry and look for it.
Thank you so much, Joaquin, for sharing that shift in from staying comfortable to being comfortable with being uncomfortable in order to grow. That was very empowering, and I'm sure many students were able to relate to that. I would like to invite Lucia to answer whichever part of the question next.
Great. Okay. I know we're trying to be as concise as possible. So, gosh, I mentioned the kind of transition that I went through from, did I say I was doing hair initially? I don't know if I said that. Anyway, doing hair. Then I did sociology, got into social work. And so I kind of knew the profession by the time I got there. Like Joaquin says, risk averse. I'm not really risk averse, and I'm a little bit of a rebel. So I thought I was going in to just, be in social services just for a while. I didn't think I wanted to work for the government. It just felt so restrictive to me. Similar to Joaquin, I also found that it actually provided a lot of different opportunities to grow in so many different ways than I anticipated, including being a little bit of a rebel. So I got to be the one who got to poke a little bit, like, hey, I don't agree with this policy. Hey, we really need to look more. I joined part of it's called El Comité, which was service to the Latino community. And then beyond that, just looking at policies and what wasn't working for my fellow social workers, what is not working for the Latino community. So just continuing to challenge the status quo, challenge what they were doing, and to be that to gently persist in doing so. So I'm here 20 years later, still here, and I now am a trainer, so I get to train our new staff that are coming in, as well as the existing staff on policies and changes and new things that are coming down the pike. And I think I might say my most exciting thing, because I get to talk about it a little bit later, but I'm getting to do things now that I didn't imagine. I always, speaking of kind of a journey, when I was little, another thing I wanted to be was a teacher, and now I'm a trainer. So it's a little kind of the same. And now I get to, teach people how to do something that I absolutely love doing. And I get to do some systems work with as a social worker. It's really great. We've talked a lot about, making an impact on the community, and I get to do that on a daily basis, almost in my position, as well as throughout the years, just looking at systems and changing them from within. So I'll leave that for now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lucia. I think it was very, very empowering and relatable on how you mentioned, like, that everything that you experienced post-college was, or most of it was, kind of unexpected. However, it was very connected to what your aspirations were when you were younger. I think that also relates to what Elisa mentioned earlier about how everything's connected and things come back around. So thank you for sharing that experience. I will now like to invite Mauricio to share about his journey post-SJSU, post-college.
Absolutely, thank you. So I'd like to start with a quote, and that kind of resembles my career a little bit. And the only thing is, like, change is legally constant, right, in life, and the ability for one to adapt to those changes is what determines success. So that's what led me to be where I'm at today. Like I said, my background's in mechanical engineering, and here I am doing media and entertainment for a multinational company, rolling out services like Pluto TV and engaging, cultural affiliates and different content pieces. So it's a long journey. It's a lot of changes, but it's been really a fascinating journey for me, because there's a lot of changes that I've experienced. And all of that came from my experience at San Jose State, being an engineer and affiliated with a lot of the clubs at the engineering organization. I was part of the Society of Latino Engineers, where I served as a vice president, a treasurer, secretary, pizza delivery guy, just to get the members into our team. So I do understand how it is to really get the student organizations involved and get everyone to cooperate and participate. So I'd say that's one of the key strengths that I actually see that really led me to kind of where I'm at today, organizing teams and really getting things engaged. At the same time, the other thing that I found is that I always have a curiosity. Like I like to explore new things. So might be the engineering piece in me or the entrepreneur aspect, but I always look for things that I can improve, right? And through that nature, I find myself in situations where new opportunities place themselves. I did work most of my career in startups, believe it or not. Started, working for large companies like GE, and then went on to communication companies, Sanagram, and then went to Cisco for many years. But then I took a shift in the startup world and worked for Sling TV and designed products for what's now called Sling TV, which everybody enjoys. Company was acquired by EchoStar and really was successful. And then I went to work at Roku, and Roku was another success where, we built products and engaged with different companies and different customers. And from there, I went to work at TiVo, which is another name brand, and now Viacom launching products. So it's been a interesting change. I think that it's about what passion do I have, or what things lead you to really keep you engaged in that work, right? And things that really keep you motivated. And sometimes you can find that within the company, that's great. Sometimes you just want to build that for yourselves and really create that opportunity. So think about those areas where you feel passionate about, where you can really make a change, whether it be in your career or in the community. And that's really the area that you want to focus on, and then the money will come, and then you'll be able to, do a lot of things and then influence others. That's an area that you really drive, for me, drive a lot of satisfaction, the ability to work and help with teams and help them grow and reorganize at the same time. How did my perspective from the world change from college to student? I think that perspective is that when you go to college, you have a mentality like, well, I'm gonna be in this career and I have a path set. So be open to opportunities. And, like was said before, mentors come in all different facets, right? You might have mentors in your career, you might have mentors from other areas. So always look out for those people and opportunities to explore and learn and grow. That's really what I look forward all the time. And I always find that, especially here in the Bay Area, is such a diverse cultural background that everybody's here to help each other. Everybody's an entrepreneur. And interesting enough, new opportunities come in where you might not even be looking for one, or you might just be helping somebody else, and that turns into a business. That's the entrepreneurial spirit of the Bay Area and Silicon Valley. So be open to changes, embrace life, and be bold. I think that's an advice that I live by. Measure your risk, understand what you like, and go for it. That's my model.
Thank you so much, Mauricio. You started off with a great quote about how change is the only constant, and then you applied on how much change you've experienced post-college. However, how many of your experiences and your involvement within college came to serve you now in your career changes. So another affirmation that everything is definitely connected. So thank you so much for that, Mauricio. I'll now pass it on to Jennifer for the next theme.
Yes, thank you. Now we are entering our Enlightening Round. So everyone will have 1.5 minutes to answer these questions, and I will have my timer on, and I will be unmuted so that you all hear the timer go off. So let's get started. So the first question is for Elisa, and the question is, what is the biggest misconception about your career field?
Okay, timing is no fair. Biggest misconception that nurses only work in the hospital and give shots. Nurses range. Part of what I love about nursing is that like Mauricio said, like Joaquin said, there's so many opportunities, administrative, education, I've done training, the sky's the limit. And as Mauricio and Joaquin said, if it's not there, make it. I am going in my next phase, going to combine the outdoors with holistic care and journey within nursing and still get paid as a nurse. So That's the biggest misconception. Right now, I'm in public health. I would have wildest dreams not be in infectious disease, but right now, a daily activity for me, like I dealt with, a lot of people don't know or haven't learned what public health is until this pandemic. And here we are. And the other thing is that my day goes from doing a rabies investigation to syphilis investigations to partner notifications on STD and COVID. So I help support the schools locally, which is a really daunting task. But again, it's the biggest misconception that all we do is give shots and work in hospitals, but it's way beyond that. And we're also in the White House and in government and in policy. So.
Okay, thank you so much, Elisa.
I didn't hear the timer. I did it under.
You finished just on time, so thank you so much. Now we're going to be moving on to Isa. And the question is, what is your why and your purpose?
Sure. Yeah, I love this part. So I have been at Adobe for 15 years and I love this company. So they promote internal mobility, development, and career. And so I love the fact that I'm in a position to manage and to hire. And so it goes back to pay it forward. So I graduated, didn't know what I was going to do. And I did have individuals that supported me and helped me guide me through what I actually did well. And that was really, coordination. And so I found myself in HR, then in recruiting. And so I have an opportunity to look at individuals that have transferable skills that want to go into tech. And we do have a contract, kind of a program where we take individuals that come on board as a contractor for 9 months, build their skill set, communication, they get to know the internal systems, and they get to build a brand. And soon they receive kind of kudos and their top talent. And then we'll look for a conversion, a head count to convert them and to give them a badge for Adobe. And so I look forward to really mentoring and investing into individuals that want to grow and have passion to lean in and really come to an appointment to really thrive. So yeah, that's my kind of purpose.
Yeah, thank you so much, Isa, for sharing. I'm sorry if my phone is so loud. All right, so we will be moving on to Maria. And your question is, what is your greatest asset and or challenge as a Latinx member in your career field?
I do believe that, as corny as it sounds, everything happens for a reason, and whatever traumas or challenges that I face, I feel that I can apply them to support my students in education. We have all walks of life of students and scenarios, and so I draw from that. So for what it's worth, I was trained to do this job on a daily basis. A challenge, unfortunately, though now I'm in a new district, but even though I came with 20 years of experience from Eastside Union, even though I'm a female, though I'm brown, just coming into a totally different socioeconomic community, you still get questioned. Doesn't matter how many credentials you have, doesn't matter how many years of experience, doesn't matter what emergency situations you've been in and you know how to do this, or you know what kids need because you've been there, you've done it. There's still those challenges that exist where you get questioned and people doubt you and you're different. And so you have to just draw strength from knowing that you know your stuff. You know what you're talking about and hold your ground. And so I think, draw from that courage, again, from your parents, from your grandparents, imagine all the struggles that they went through and just, I don't have to be out in the fields. I don't have to wake up at 4 a.m. And so if it means challenging someone on their beliefs and interact with kids and serve with kids, and then I can do it. I'm willing to take that on. And so.
Thank you so much, Maria. I think it is a little too loud. I don't want to scare y'all. Okay, thank you so much for sharing with us. Now, the next question is for Joaquin. And the question is, what is an important skill you have developed since you started your professional career?
Yeah, definitely. So, when I was looking and thinking about this a little bit, I think the biggest skill that I've learned, it may seem a little corny, and we talked a little bit about it, but I think it's about taking risks. It's focusing on yourself and finding opportunities to make yourself better. Earlier in my career, I took the risk to reach out to our CFO of a large, company, and I asked him if he'd be open to set up some time with me just to chat, talk about his journey. And obviously, to my amazement, he said yes. I wasn't expecting that, and that's an example of where I took the risk. But what I got out of that was I had asked him, talk to me about his journey, right? And he gave me this great piece of advice, and that I still think about it today, right? He said, the career journey is not linear, right? It's going to take you sideways. It'll take you backwards before it takes you forward. But be open to that journey, because at the end of the day, it's not about the short term, but it's the long term. And I've applied that. Although I was not as much of a risk taker, but in my career, I've taken a number of risks, and sometimes that risk is you look for another job because there's a skill set that you need to develop, and it actually may be considering a lower salary, or maybe within the company you're at, and you may have to take a sideways or a backward step to get forward. And I think that's a great advice. But that all came down to taking that risk to talk to someone and to open yourself to new experiences.
Yeah, thank you, Joaquin. I think you just emphasizing on being more of a risk taker will definitely demonstrate to our students that we shouldn't be scared, and that it's always those opportunities that we need to take advantage of. So thank you. Now we will be moving on to Mauricio. And the question is, what does a day in your career look like for you?
Say that again. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, no problem. The question is, what does a day in your career look like for you?
Well, so it's pretty dynamic. So my roles and responsibilities are pretty broad, from content acquisition, partnerships, and deployment of a major service like Pluto TV, Paramount Plus. So in my current role, we manage onboarding distribution of content across 20 countries, Latin America, Brazil, and Europe. So as you can imagine, there's a number of things that need to be part of that. Number one is what kind of partners we need to work on. What is the content that needs to be there to drive engagement? How do we drive monetization? And then how do we really build more of an audience to really drive forward that platform? But a lot of this comes in from a passion to solve problems and understand how to really work with customers and what customers really looking to engage. We're using this as a platform, and then I work very closely with a very tactical team that really helps and support in a lot of this task. So it's not me personally just doing all that, but really relying on the team that does a lot of that work. And then at the same time, really understanding, what is the market leading to? And not just on the product side, but technology. What is the next phase? What's happening, 2-3 months from now? What are competitors doing, like Hulu, Netflix, and Fox, and some of the other content providers? We're relying more on technology, on content, and then how do we really leap forward? So it's a lot of that, and really putting it all together with the team, make sure that it's complementary to the customer.
Yeah, thank you, Mauricio, for walking us through a day in your life, or within your career. So we're gonna move on to Lucia, and your question is, what is your favorite thing about your career or current job?
Oh my gosh, so much. I feel like I have one of the best jobs in the world. I get to go to work every day and know that what I do makes a difference to someone's life, to the community, every day, whether I'm having an interaction with a family member, a kid, whether I'm filling out a piece of paper, some paperwork, which there's way too much of. But even if I'm doing that, that still helps a family, and it still makes a difference. And that I've got to do that for the past 20 years. I've got to connect with families. I've got to witness I did mention the type of social work I do. It's child welfare, so child protective services. So there are people that come in with just, with just a lot of issues that have experienced a lot of trauma, and it's really hard because we witness that. But not only do we get to witness transformation of when things get better for them, it also impacts us. So I think that's another thing that's a little bit, it's selfish and not selfish at the same time, because if you are remain truly aware of who you are, how it's affecting you, all of that, you get to just level up the work that you do with the community, and it's really amazing. So
thank you, Lucia, for sharing that with us. I truly appreciate it, and I'm sure everyone else does too. Thank you. And now I will be passing it on to Yesenia.
Thank you so much. So our last theme will be advice to current students, and similarly, it will be a lightning round. So all panelists will have only 1 minute. We're going to cut it short this time. 1 minute to respond to one of the following questions, and I will be directing them to the different panelists. So like Jenny, I'll have my my timer on. So the first question is towards Isa. What are important skills a college student should have or acquire when applying for a job in your field?
Yeah, definitely. I would say that, first of all, have a solid resume and take the time to build that resume, because that's going to market yourself. People are going to look at your resume, and you're not the only resume they're going to look at. Build your profile on LinkedIn and use your network. So quickly do that. Ask for support if you need help with critiquing your resume, LinkedIn profile. Be proactive. Don't give up. Really proud that you've been here listening to us, right? So kudos to all of you. Reach out to me. I'm happy to help you. And just, again, stay proactive, positive, lean in, and get that resume out when you're ready.
Thank you. Wow, you were on it. Yes, LinkedIn. Plugging the Career Center as well as LBSA, we help with developing your resume. Oh, it timed on me. Okay, so next question is for Maria. What types of opportunities would you advise current college students to seek during their college career?
Definitely go out and volunteer or work in the area that you believe is what you want to do. Just like me, I worked in a latchkey program, had little ones, and right away I knew that wasn't going to be my lifetime career. So go out, explore, and see what it is that you like. Go connect with other people, get business cards, and just keep in touch. Keep in touch and look for other leaders in that area and pick their brain. You know, don't be embarrassed. Ask as many questions. Be that enfadosa, and because it's important for you to have the most information before you continue with your studies. Make sure it's in the right track, and then you have a better idea of what road you need to take or what options you have out there, especially if you're first generation, because your family may not have that information. So you can't be shy when it comes to your future career path.
On the dot. Yes, seek mentorship and seek information. Thank you so much, Maria. Next question. Next question is for Lucia. So how do you take care of yourself in times of stress?
oh my goodness. So just so you know, I developed a 4-hour training for our social workers. So 1 minute. I would say the most important thing is self-awareness. So knowing what works for you to lift yourself up, know when you are down and you're getting tired or cranky or energized, what do you do then? Do you shop? Do you go on Amazon? Click, 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 you know? Or have a glass of wine if you're old enough, or beer, sex, All those are fine and good and wonderful. Just what are you using at what times? Do something that's healthy. I have a lot of books here. Oh, I did the blur. I'll maybe just put them on the chat. It's just really know what your baseline is when you're for good, and know what your baseline is when you're feeling bad, when you're not feeling great. So take like a high point in your life, just be aware, scale that 1 to 10. What is that like? What does that feel like? Do the same thing for like a really low point in your life. So you know what that feels like, and you're able to make course corrections when you're feeling stressed.
Thank you, Lucia. Self-awareness, definitely. And the next question will be for Mauricio. What tips do you have to best manage your time?
Well, I'm not the best manager of time. I got to say that, but you know what? Just do as I say, not as I do. But I think you have to focus on end results, right? And then at the end of the day, what do you have to show, right? And that goes for anything in your career, whether at the beginning to the end. So set some benchmarks, set some goals, and then set the time to really align your time to get to those goals throughout the day or the time that you have. Focus on metrics and review them constantly. Hey, what did I do right? Can I improve on it? Is there anything that I can do faster, better, more efficient, so that I'm not spending a lot of time on things that may not be impactful? So learn to prioritize things in your career that, things that are lower priority that probably take a secondary place, and other things, you need to focus on. And that really changes depending on where you are and the time of day, in your career. Absolutely.
Thank you for your honesty. I definitely relate. Prioritization, something important. Thank you for that, Mauricio. The next question will be for Joaquin. What are your thoughts on failure, and what advice do you have for students who may experience or are experiencing failure?
Yep, definitely. Thank you. So I think this is a very interesting one, right? So first of all, failure is a learning opportunity. So let's make sure we all understand that. We're all going to fail. It could be a bad grade. It could be you screwed up a presentation at an executive team meeting. I'm guilty on both accounts, right? So what we have to remember is failures stem from the fact that you're pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone, and you're doing things that are helping you learn and grow. So really, there's 3 things you need to do. And I was reading an article, and they kind of streamlined it in these 3 ways. One is own it. So don't make excuses. Don't blame others. You have to recognize your role in that failure. And focus on what you did or didn't do right, because that's all you can control. You can't control anyone else's actions. You want to learn from it. Make sure you identify what needs to be done differently and what actions you need, either a skill set or something else. What are you going to do in the future? And then move on. Once you've identified it, once you've owned it, once you've assessed what you need to do differently, it's a mistake. It happens. It's in the past. Focus on the future. I think I heard timer. Joaquin. Sorry.
Yes, but in that it was very, very powerful advice and tools on how to go about failure. Thank you for that. Now the last question will be for Elisa. What is a piece of advice you would give your college self?
Wow, I think Joaquin just said it. Don't be afraid to fail. I just moved in my college freshman in Sacramento State. I have 2 Hornets, one graduating and one just started. And when we walked around to the booth of the students, the student leaders, I asked them, what advice would you give her? And I think the answer that I'm going to share with you is what they told her, because I thought it was great. And I think several of the panelists mentioned them already, is get out of your comfort zone. Get out of your comfort zone. Don't be afraid to fail. And it's okay. I think we're taught that, perfection, or at least the attainment. The other thing is, don't attach yourself to how you think the outcome should look like. Allow it to be, and learn in the process. because it may not look like. And then we suffer because we're attached to an idea that may or may not serve us. So.
Thank you, Elisa. Definitely major advice that I think I often remind students as well now in my journey to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, to step out of your comfort zone, to try new things, and definitely not attach yourself to an idea of an outcome. Let it flow, let it grow. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, panelists, for that. That was our final question. Next, we will welcome questions from the chat.
Thank you, Yesenia, and thank you, everybody. If you can please help me in giving both Jennifer and Yesenia a big round of applause for being our amazing moderators of this amazing panel. So at the same time, help me give our panelists a big round of applause, and thank you so much for your time, for being here. I know we've gone a little over time, so thank you for hanging in there with us with the technical difficulties we had at the beginning, but we have two very important questions, so I hope you can just stay for just a couple more minutes. So question for our panelists, if you can please put down your contact information in the chat. Our students would love to know how they can follow up with you. So email or LinkedIn pages, if you're on LinkedIn, if you could include that in the chat, that would be wonderful. And if I could just have one panelist answer this question from one of our students, which is, if you are at a place where you are unsure of what you want to do for your career, what steps would you do to figure out what you want to do? So again, if you're at a place where you're unsure of what you want to do for your career, what steps would you do, or what steps would you take to figure out what you want to do? So whoever would like to answer that question on behalf of our students.
I want to add something short, but it sounds cliche, follow your heart. Another thing I like to think about is, what did you want to be when you were 8 years old? Maybe it's not going to be exactly that, but around that age, you have this beautiful innocence that you don't have all the world telling you what you should and shouldn't be. So, and then just talk to a lot of people. Talk to anyone whose job sounds interesting. Ask them to shadow. Ask them, buy them coffee, and ask them to talk with you.
That is great advice. I hear Elisa. Go ahead, Elisa.
Just to add to that, remember, nothing's permanent. Nothing is permanent. You can always change. Joaquin said it. I think most of the panelists said it. Life is not set in stone, and we can make of it what we want and make those changes when you want it. And if it doesn't feel right inside, in your spirit, in your heart, you change it.
You can't make a wrong choice.
Yeah, just a comment there. I think that there's a couple of things that, and I've gone through this all the time, having shift careers and not knowing what I wanted to do, but find your passion and kind of, what do you really like to do, right? And then think ahead, what things do you have in your toolbox that can get you there, or you have to build skills to get you there. Don't be afraid to explore and experiment and talk to people, and then reach out to a mentor. LinkedIn is such a great tool, right? You can reach out to someone, find out, and then look for leadership roles that really get you those skills and then get you to that point so you can start evaluating things that you want to do. So that way you find balance and things that you want to experiment, because it might be that area that you want to explore may not be an area you really want to. So you want to start exploring, and then that might change.
Muchísimas gracias, everyone, for those pieces of advice. I'm going to share here very quickly and invite either Jennifer or Yesenia to one more time just introduce our students to where we're talking. Mauricio, you're talking about find those leadership opportunities. So this is a special invitation to join one of our very active student organizations on our campus that both Yesenia and Jennifer are a part of. So if you want to share very quickly, Yesenia or Jennifer.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lily, for giving us the opportunity to talk about LBSA. So LBSA stands for Latino Business Student Association. And what we do in LBSA is we do workshops where we bring professionals to talk to our students about opportunities or ways to grow and be able to get them on to the right track of their career that they would like to. Also, we have socials where we invite everyone to come together to have fun, get to know one another, and really get out of their comfort zone. We make up all of these games for everyone to meet one another and just really enjoy their time while getting out of their comfort zone. But LBSA mostly is for giving back to the community and helping everyone within our community. But you also don't have to be a business student to be with them, to be in LBSA. You also don't have to be part of the Latinx community. We are open to any major and anyone. We appreciate everyone's insight that comes into LBSA.
Muchísimas gracias, Jennifer. And they are very active on their social media platforms. So make sure to follow them. There's a lot of great events happening in the next couple of weeks. And so lastly, I want to acknowledge, and Patty, if you're here, I think I see you just to show your beautiful face and say hello. So Patty and Leo Cortez, they're both our co-presidents of the Latino Alumni Network. And so I want to give them a big round of applause for helping us coordinate this amazing, inspiring panel this evening. And we will be following up with all of our student attendees today so you can learn more about the Latino Alumni Network. You don't have to be a current alum to be engaged with some of their events. In fact, they too have a very active social media page, so we will send you all the information after tonight's event. So thank you, Patty, and thank you, Leo, so much for collaborating with us and bringing this amazing panel together with us tonight here at San Jose State. And so last but not least, please, students, let us know some feedback on what you thought about this panel. So there's a QR code here for you to take a very, very brief survey. I kid you not, it's probably like a minute long. So please, this information is really important to us. We want to know what you thought about the event, if you're seeking more opportunities like this in the near future. So please take a few minutes tonight to complete this evaluation, this survey, and let us know. And as you can see here, you will be entered to win a $50 Amazon gift card. So the chances, the odds are really in your favor. So take an opportunity in a few minutes to do that tonight. So again, muchísimas gracias a everybody here tonight. Please, one more time, if you can unmute yourselves and just give our panelists a big round of applause. Muchísimas gracias for being here with us tonight. And if you have friends who weren't able to make it to the event, we did record this and it will be available at the Centro YouTube channel. So please refer students to that. Probably in the next couple of days, we'll have the recording available. So muchísimas gracias. Have a wonderful evening. Good night, everybody. Buenas noches. Bye.